open this up. Secret House Against Tokyo-based hip hop art and culture conversations and such. We talk about independent underground hip hop in conversation form. Not really reviews, especially this one. This is the new Aesop Rock solo album, Integrated Technologies, Integrated Tech Solutions.
Yes.
See, I was just telling Jet that I saw somebody review it and he said Spirit World Free Guide, and I immediately clocked out. So don't do that to us. As you can see, we got Aesop Rock posters in the background. You guys might know us from previous reviews, Garbology, Aesop Rock. This joint dropped on 11/10, so we've only had 4 days really to sit with it. And I think I've listened to it more than you, Jet. How many times have you listened to the album?
Just the twice.
Twice? I listened to maybe 4 or 5 times. Most of those were not with me making notes and consciously trying to figure out what was going on with Aesop Rock. But
So consider this a first impression.
yeah, this is more like a reaction. This is not a reaction video, but this is us reacting to it.
Yo, this is crazy, bro.
Also, I think longtime tenants of the Secret House will know that I'm a huge Aesop Rock fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been rocking with him since Float. I've got 20-year-old t-shirt from Aesop Rock, type of things like that. He's probably my most consistently appreciated MC over the duration of my life that hasn't really fallen out of my top 10 list at any given time. He's up there with I'm a huge Redman fan, Bus Driver, Doom, Black Thought. And my Black Thought fandom has actually decreased since his popularity went up a couple years back.
Okay, what?
I'm so tired of people being like I was one of the cats champion him. I think it was only me and Homeboy Sandman that I had ever heard before say Black Thought was the illest. Black Thought's the illest. And then he had that freestyle, and it was just everybody talks about it now. I was like, all right. Maybe I'm a hater.
I mean, if he gets his flowers, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to, show love.
But yeah, Aesop is there. For me, his brilliance is just tremendous. I haven't loved every product or project that he puts out, and he's not always, every time he releases, not my album of the year type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'll put him against anybody. Style for style, skill for skill, poetic variation, poetic device against poetic device, storytelling, braggadocio, breath control, historical lens for the canon of hip hop, influence, all of those things. I'll put him against any MC. Vocabulary, to me, he's just capable of doing so many things. But he's also an artist that not a lot of people fuck with. I mean, a lot of people fuck with him, but there's a lot of people that don't fuck with him. They hear him and they're just nah. To be quite honest with you, a lot of my black brothers and sisters, a lot of my homies is yeah, he cool, he sound cool. I just don't get with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's one of those artists is for a lot of people, it's 0 or 100. I don't like him or I fucking love him.
Yes.
Where do you kind of fall into that? Because I know you got a little bit lambasted for your review on the last one, but that's just
I feel exactly the way about Aesop Rock that Aesop Rock apparently feels about Van Gogh.
Okay. Okay.
To say, I was thinking about Aesop Rock recently. I was never really a huge fan of his music, but I wouldn't say I actively disliked him either. It's just never really been my thing, which is, a
perfect
paraphrase of
On
the
Failure.
first lines of On Failure from this album. I did get somewhat lambasted for the Garbology review, which is fine.
You didn't really say anything
negative about, and I don't really have much negative to say about Ace. I've never loved his voice, but at the same time, he is just a unique voice. His delivery and the way he sounds on a record is very, very immediately recognizable. It's very difficult to confuse him for anyone else. His skills and his ability to kind of form a sentence in a way that sounds incredibly natural and not at all contrived while throwing together some absolutely insanely complex rhyming and vocabulary, top notch. I don't know if there's anyone, throw any of your top 10 at him. Of course.
Yeah.
I've always admired his work at a distance as opposed to being deeply involved in his discography. When it came to Garbology, I think it was perhaps because Spirit World Field Guide was the point where I was okay, I'm a fan now. I really enjoy that album conceptually and, in terms of its ambition and scope. And I think I likened Garbology to going to Damn after listening to Pimp a Butterfly.
Okay, bet.
Where it's this is just some really, really good rapping over some good beats. And I didn't really pull more from it in that respect. But I suppose I am a newbie Aesop Rock fan.
And also, I'll be pushing in that direction all the time because I'm such a big fan. I force him to listen to things, and he's going to have to hear me talk about how dope he is all the time and shit like that. And also, every time he comes in here, the biggest poster in the room, well, maybe not the biggest, but that big ass Impossible Kid poster. But yeah, you know, I think that's just one of the things. Like, I'm sure people watching it right now that are super fans, like, it's the nature of the fan base. To be honest with you, like I was saying on our last joint, I've been on Reddit for a few years now, and the Aesop Rock fucking subreddit is full of some of like just terrible, like, I don't like the fan base of Aesop Rock in a lot of ways. Some of them I'm like, great, brilliant, thoughtful, unique person, but then you get your guys on there that feel that because they listen to Aesop Rock, they're smarter. And this is something that, as a hip hop head, a person that has like been, you know, writing graffiti and breaking since the early mid '90s and shit. I'm a 40-year-old dude. Like, during the rise of like underground independent hip hop, there was a lot of cats who was like, their favorite rappers were like all these white rappers who were like
Sage
smarter.
Francis,
Your Sage
Aesop
Francis's, the Anticon guys. It was like, because they're not talking about these like other topics, somehow you're like smarter for listening to them. And I've always kind of found that disgusting. I found the idea disgusting, but I do understand why people want to champion Aesop Rock to such a degree. It's not the special thing about him is not that he has a huge vocabulary. It's how he accesses it, how he listens to music, and the frame and the references that he puts down. And yeah, we might as well just get right into the album then. Like, don't be one of those Aesop Rock fans that is just like crazy. Like, you understand that people like different things, bro, and like everything that you think is dope does not make you smarter or better. Sometimes it does, and I say that as a person that feels that way critically about a lot of things. But you know what I mean? Like, don't be like a Marvel MCU ravenous fan when it comes to Aesop Rock. It's corny. But yeah,
and counterintuitive as well.
Yeah, but for as far as the album goes, there was a few singles that were released before the album dropped. Mindful Solutionism, The River, and what was the other one that dropped beforehand? Infinity Fell Goose Down.
Yeah.
Right? When the first single came out, Mindful Solutionism, I was kind of like, this is cool. This is Aesop. This is cool. I don't know where you're going with it or whatever. And that song actually is perhaps my least favorite song on the album.
Okay,
I love The River or By the River or whatever. By the River.
That is a wonderful piece of music.
Yeah, I love that. But even the title of the album, I was kind of stepping into this wondering, like, what does it all mean? And it took me a while to kind of piece together my own theory about what I think the album's title refers to in terms of like what is cohesive about this piece of art.
Yes.
Because for the first few listens, like, the one thing that stood out to me the most is that this album feels like not necessarily more personal, because he's parsed out things about, you know, his depression and how he feels and struggles with things in life in general before. So not necessarily more personal, but more casual than some of his work. And like Spirit World Phil Guy is a focused, intentional, thematic world that he's creating. But this one, it feels like this is a side of his personality that he would share with his friends.
Yes.
And something that his fan base of just listeners is not really privy to his kind of charm and his kind of just approach to just being a regular human. On Impossible Kid, there's like trauma, there's resolution. Spirit World Feel Guide is paranoia, psychedelia. Skeleton is kind of him reemerging from this place that was rough after Camus and kind of coming back into as an artist. This album just feels like closer.
Yes.
On Failure, which you quote, is just him talking about Van Gogh. And Aesop throughout his career has had these moments, like when he was doing the MTV I'm Trying to Help. It's like him kind of whimsy and kind of fun. But on Failure, it's just him talking about Van Gogh and kind of paralleling his thoughts on failure to these things. There's no raps. His insights on are good. On Viditas is, I believe, how you pronounce it.
Yes.
He's talking about like his Lithuanian grandmother and kind of connected to his heritage and who he is as a person.
Vititas is like a wine that is produced in Lithuania.
Okay.
Presumably something that he, you know, was would drink as a child, or has some kind of distinct memory of being around his family.
I'm not a person who is like constantly going back to Aesop Rock albums and picking out things. I don't watch interviews of him that he's had, at least not in the last decade. So I don't know these little kind of parts about himself. But this album, it felt like there's a lot of things that are just more casual.
Yes. And it's something that I think works both to the album's benefit and also to the album's detriment. Because I was hoping, when I saw like the cover and the title and I heard Mindful Solutionism, I was like, okay, he's going to do another concept album.
Technology theme,
dystopian. But also, perhaps there's like an element of, technology and spiritualism, how those come together, with the cover, you got the rocket taking off, but there's also like a woman meditating underneath, there's the Illuminati like pyramid with the eye in it.
It's a weird cover.
And out of the gate, those first 3 tracks very heavily, lean in the direction of the concept. And then like you have like songs about Mr. T and the Lithuanian diaspora and pigeons and people hopped up on a lot of drugs naked in his apartment. And it kind of moves away from the conceptual and then kind of becomes a more generalized thing. And it feels very intentional because the album's about an hour long. And I feel like maybe, he didn't want to drag the album down in tech dystopianism, especially given the more personal elements of this record. I'm not sure how I feel about it as a concept record. Maybe, people in the comments sound off. Let us know what you think. Do you think this would have worked better as like a full concept record, in which the whole thing from start to finish really lent on this kind of, tech dystopianism? Or is this an album that should just be enjoyed on its own merits?
I think that it's a bit of both. I actually started, and maybe this is all just my imagination, but at first I was looking for a more precise or like a cohesive through line. But I think that it also has a lot to do with these things. Like technology is not just like circuit boards and things. They're also tools, right?
Yes.
And a lot of this album, he's talking about the tools for his mental well-being, his grandmother, and things that help him, like kyanite toothpick. It's like that helps him feel dope about things. Like on Mindful Solutionism, he gets into that kind of the contradictions of technology, but so many of the other tracks, like even the pigeonometry track where he's just going off about like drawing pigeons, it kind of speaks to the things that he uses in order to kind of like move himself away from the downtroddenness. In the Mr. T line, it's a story, but at the end it's kind of giving him this framework of like, don't be a sucker, fucking, protect your mom, like be great. I'm trying to go through some of the other songs, like on Aggressive Steven. He's grappling with like how to be a better person. Like how can I fucking help this dude without putting him in a position that's going to fucking ruin his life and make me an asshole. But especially on By the River, he's just talking about how this river is kind of a tool, a technology that he uses. He goes to it and it becomes anything that he wants. And so that's where I started to feel as though several of these tracks were contributing to the idea of not technology, but as like the type of tools that he's using to this album just feels different. It feels more optimistic. It feels like a lot of these things were the integrated solutions that he kind of lifted himself out of this. And it doesn't come across as like overly optimistic in that way, but it is there's just a lot of things on this album that I feel like a cohesion might be there that I might be projecting.
We're not.
Yeah, I just I don't have a lot of distance from the album or a lot of times, but it's just really. It's like the song and the album ends with Black Snow.
Yes.
And on Black Snow, I should pull up the lyrics for Black Snow, but there's just like
I got them all here if you want to.
Okay. It's got lyrics and shit too?
Yeah.
Fuck, see, that's tight. Like Black Snow, it ends and it's talking about like he starts what seems to be like and at the end of the track, it's an optimistic Aesop Rock to me on this. The very end track, right, with featuring Nicky Jean, and his flow is different. He's got like these like 6-syllable fucking rolls that he's doing, but at the beat switch, you know, it gives you the turntablism because that's real hip hop shit. The second verse is so ill, the cadence and flow, but he starts off with what seems to be thematically similar to the old Appalachian folk song, "Oh Death, Oh Death," which some people might recognize that from Brother, Where Art Thou? They had a full scene where it's basically a poem or an Appalachian folk song about being in the icy graphs and challenging death, right? And on this, he starts off with that, but he frames it in the sense of him fighting as a boxer. He describes his outfit, he describes what he's going through, and at the end of the track, he's like, the snow is not fucking right. Like, this is, I'm better than this. Like, I will overcome this. And that's one of the most optimistic aspects of Aesop Rock that I ever got.
There is an optimistic defiance that is prevalent throughout the entire record.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't want to play it right. But yeah, it's just good in that regard. Like, so many of these songs are just like, yo, fucking, I'm doing all right. Like, that's why I thought that they were tools to.
Well, you know, it's even with pigeonometry. I don't know if this is necessarily intentional, but the fact that he does circle back to, you know, Da Vinci, Vitruvian Man, you know, exhibitions, technological marvels in engineering and stuff. I was reading recently, like, one of the largest obstacles towards like self-driving vehicles is pigeons.
Oh, word.
Because a flock of pigeons looks different every single time you look at it. And an AI algorithm, especially on like a Tesla where it's just a camera, doesn't really know what a flock of pigeons is, and generally goes, I don't know what that is, stop the car. When anyone who's driven in a city before knows you just keep driving, the pigeons, you know, they fly off in different directions and then you keep going. And perhaps it's less safe. So it was kind of fun, like, you know, even drawing these little connections for myself. I doubt that's what was intended here because the theming of the song is not particularly relevant to that. Right. But that is something that's very, very enjoyable about Ace's work, is the fact that you can go into it and be like, oh, I wonder what he means by this here. You know, what is this connection here?
Yeah, it was like kind of like for me what we were talking about like earlier about with our friend Deza. It's like Deza's able to think of something, put his mind to it, and execute. Whereas me and Jet are often sometimes like idea guys. Like this Aesop Rock track, he just like, yo, I think I'm gonna I love pigeons. Pigeons are dope. You know, like people view pigeons poorly because of a variety of reasons, but you also fucking champion doves. You're a fucking bigot. like, you know what I mean? It's like really funny, quirky ideas about it. But it's like, yo, I'm going to draw 1,000 pigeons. And then he kind of realizes how overwhelming it was to get himself into that. Like, so excited before really sizing up the job. And I like that. It's a very rich kind of human experience that I haven't heard is like oddly calculated as he puts it on this track. Like the whole second verse is all about Da Vinci and like how this brilliance is there, but like, you know, he wants to capture part of that, but you just don't realize how fucking crazy it can be sometimes. And you know, like there's people that, you know, might draw that back. Like this is the only other time I've heard pigeons like really referred to in East Coast or in rap is kind of like Cannibal Ox, like his old contemporaries back in the day, where it's like the theme is like we are pigeons, but we fucking go Phoenix and shit.
Is there an old Earl called Pigeons? I feel like there's an old Earl sweatshirt.
I don't know
about related to pigeons.
Perhaps. I just like. There's literally a song called Pigeon on fucking the Cold Vein. You know what I mean? It's like, this is just good. And that's one of the things that I like about Aesop Rock. And another is that like how I feel like I have a lot to say. It looks like we're getting towards 20 minutes, but I'm just going to keep going. So you guys, fucking clock out if you will, or whatever. But like, there's this really wonderful thing that Aesop is capable of doing with language. And it's kind of hard to frame how he approaches rap as compared to other people, because it's not like he's doing punchlines. He's making metaphors as straightforward as you can by creating this kind of cinematic scope to it. And I was thinking about his songs, and it kind of reminds me, and Jet, you might be too young to historically recognize this in the same way I did, but in the 90s, film was changing, right? Like Tarantino's dialogue in his movies was kind of like unheard of. And the same thing with like Kevin Smith. They were constructing this like lowbrow kind of conversation styles, but constructing in ways like nobody talks like this, but everybody wants to talk like this.
Yes.
And it's just like a Gen X thing, right? Where it's like it's lowbrow, but it's deeply insightful, and it's almost like this uncanny valley of human speech. Nobody really was doing language and dialogue like that back in the day. Now you have it so much, like even in the film like Juno that came out probably around the same age that I was when I heard Tarantino. Juno was probably coming out at the same time.
Yep.
And it was a very similar approach to language. And I just really like how Aesop has such a really casual and absurd command of not over just $5 words, but random odd perspectives to marvel at. Like you've heard glamping, but you've never heard him hop in a glamping van, and the way he paints it is so it to me it makes it very accessible, but it also makes it highly like visually cluttered for a lot of people. And
at
I
the
just
same
think
time,
he
like,
shines.
I think what's so incredible about Aesop Rock is the fact that he is able to hammer a rhyme into place like a blacksmith without it ever seeming contrived, or if he had to like force the rhyme into place. Even it, just taking I took a completely random bar like off Aggressive Steven. I got this loft that when you walk in, the ceilings are pretty normal. Then a dozen feet later, it's 20 feet of beams and mortar. I inch in far enough to peek around that first corner. No sign of life in the bathroom, only debris and disorder. And it's like, that feels
Mortar,
like prose.
disorder, yeah.
It feels like prose. This isn't like the Eminem porn, right?
Four door, four Taurus, orange, forlorn, morn.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like a lot of these words they're not perfect rhymes, but he's able to just manipulate them in such a naturalistic way. It almost sounds like he's just talking to you.
That's one of the things that I find fascinating about him, because he can be extremely complex and hard to like figure out what's going on. But when he gets really sometimes he gets really brilliant on songs like A Long-Legged Larry that is not on this. It's almost like a children's story, right? But Pigeonometry, Aggressive Steven, like he's a master of kind of taking these ideas that are so very simple and laying it out to you with a way of language, like jump into a cumulus. Like it's just as simple as jumping into a cloud, but it's it's said in a way that seems unnatural. And if you're I've heard people say like, yeah, Aesop is just fucking, it's word salad. It's nonsense. It's nothing. It's like, yeah, you're not listening here. Like you're obviously not trying to listen here, because his storytelling is so fluid and visual. It's a lot like Billy Woods Billy Woods is more puzzle-ish than Aesop Rock is in today's day and age, to me. When it comes to this type of shit, like,
I mean, you can compare. They're on a track together on here.
I fucking love. We're gonna get more into that
Living
shit
Curfew,
too. But,
and you want to get into that in a little bit, or do you want to?
No, I mean, I think I want to talk about some of these songs.
So what I really enjoy about the contrast between the two of them is that Billy Woods has this very intricate like puzzle kind of formation where you're fitting everything together. Ace is so agile on that track. He's like boom, 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 boom. He just jumps from one thing to another so quickly, so elegantly. The way it all fits is absolutely stunning. And it's also like there's like a synergy between both of them. They don't go back and forth or anything, but you really get the impression of like, oh, here's two high-level lyricists who are also like specialized in very different things, even though I think a lot of the same criticisms get leveled at both artists.
Yeah, like for that song, it seems like a day in the life, but a day but related to an entire life. Like Golden Dawn, like mom's tripping, and then it ends with like the beat switches Nightfall, and eventually talking about Camus.
Yeah,
but it's easy to follow. Like my spine fused, my cholesterol back to nothing special. Like he's projecting you back into a more youthful body and a more youthful day. Like, but the way he frames it's like his fucking cadence is so incredible, and on like how agile he is. Just there's very few MCs who can ride a beat with as much complex language.
for a song, kids break the pick. When I click, it's difficult to pick one. I depict the wisdom in a particular condition, like plain old birds on a same.
His fucking flow is incredible this late in his career. He used to have he's had incredible cadences, but now he just locks into a flow, and it's like, couple that with the content that he's saying and the word choices and the way he's manipulating, like top tier MC. Like every single track on this is, even if I don't love the song, I'm like, what the fuck? Like there's a bar or something brilliant or something unusual or something just, who thinks like that? That's where I get a lot of joy out of Aesop Rock. I don't listen to Aesop Rock as I would Woods, where sometimes I'm trying to pick apart like a deeper theme. Yes. For me, the biggest, like a lot of, I'm an Aesop Rock fan because like he's one of the biggest champions of hip hop culture. And I mean that like literally every single Aesop Rock album is going to have an emphasis on like this 4-element aspect of hip hop without ever being corny about it. All of his albums have like turntablism. He's always talking about graffiti. Even on Pigeonometry, he's like, oh, I just caught 1,000 tags. On other songs, he's talking about grabbing cans of like Montana spray paint. He is so hip hop, but it seems like he's one of the only people that still does that shit. And that's one of the reasons I love it. Like, I don't listen to Aesop Rock to be like, wow, this is a puzzle I got to take apart. I listen to Aesop Rock like I look at a dope piece of graffiti, like fucking styles, like, oh shit, like who puts that together? I listen to Aesop Rock like I would like a poet, where every word is wired to explode in intervals. And even if it doesn't make sense, I'm just like, yo, you are incredible. Like, he's so nuts. And with his production, he does all the production on this, right?
Yes.
The production choices, everything to me on this shit is just fucking ill. That Kai Knight toothpick with Haniel Hatib, it's some b-boy stance shit. I'm on that Bauhaus, I'm on that Brutalist, I'm on that OG, you on that New to This? Yo, you was on that Useless, I was on that Truth, bitch. Like, to me, that's just some real b-boy shit. That's some real hip-hop shit. And that's why I really like this album in a way. It's like, there's so much hip-hop shit on this. And there always is. There's always hip-hop on Aesop. But one of the things is that his production and the type of the sound doesn't have a perhaps traditional hip-hop sound palette to a lot of people, because the lack of like soul, gospel, jazz type of samples. It's a lot of rock, it's a lot of guitar stems, it's a lot of like more similar to drum breaks than it is like 4/4 quantized type of drums. Like,
a lot of it's very folky as well.
Yeah,
you know, some of the vocal samples on there and the guitars and stuff.
Yeah. And I think, like, if I could just get into like another aspect of the production on this album, one of the things I liked about this album and that I was really looking forward to is like the song like By the River. It's not production that you typically would expect to hear Ace on. It's a little bit more soul. It's a little bit, even All City Nerve Map, it starts off with a piano. There's songs on this that don't necessarily sound like the driven Aesop sound palette that we've had since Skeleton.
Yes.
And I like that because I like the variety. One of the things I've been wanting from Aesop is an album with different form of production. He's done work with Blockhead, dope. He does his own production, dope. I would love to hear him with like Kenny Siegel or fucking even a Televangel, like just somebody that is a little bit more towards your 4/4 drums, like something a little bit more towards, I don't know. But I don't have a complaint about the beats on this album, but you know, there are a few where just like, I don't like Mindful Solutionism's beat. It's just like, that's the thing that gets away from me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it in the sense that it's like dissonant and synthy, and definitely really, really connects to that, you know, surface theme, like this main, you know, integrated tech solutions theme. But yeah, I don't know. I generally really enjoy the production on here. I would even say I enjoy it more. I enjoy it quite a lot more than on the Garbology,
I agree
like
with
the
you on
Blockhead
that,
joint.
yeah.
Even though I think, you know, obviously Blockhead is a very accomplished producer, and I think he does some wonderful work.
Overall, I like this album better.
I like
than
the weirdness and the texturedness of the. I use weirdness. I'm trying to not use weird as much, because even though I think it is a compliment, I think a lot of people don't like when their music is referred to as weird.
Sure.
But you know, there is a chaos. There is a
unusual
disorderliness and off-kilteredness to the production on here that even when it's very melodic and beautiful, there's usually like one or two elements to the production here that, you know, kind of draw you in a little bit closer than just kind of being like, yeah, this is a nice beat in 4/4 with some drums. And that's something I really enjoy about this record and on Spirit World, to be fair.
True that. I mean, it's dope. Like, I just want to say a couple more things before we get out of here because we've been talking for like almost 30. Leilani, I was surprised to see her on this shit.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the name, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's fucking. I think her name on Instagram is like Veggie Burger or something. But she had a song that came out a few years ago that I got sent to by Dallinger.
Yeah.
Dallinger sent it to me. She's messing with the machine, and she's fucking playing the beat and she's singing that song. Have you heard Minuscule?
No.
Fuck, that song is so ill. Like, and that's where I got into her. And on this track, she kind of reminds me of who's the chick from Portishead?
Oh, Beth Gibbons.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
or
exactly
like
what
a
I was
Bjork
thinking as
type
well.
of,
Yes.
you know what I mean? But yo, Minuscule is so hard, and maybe I'll put the video at the bottom of the video. But peep this, like, this is all her on.
When did this come out?
2019.
What?
It's called Fantastic Planet, but she's a dope producer artist. I think she's Filipino from Southern California. She's done work with like Kid Koala, Cut Chemist. Cut Chemist is how I saw her. Like Cut Chemist shared a video of her performing, and Dallinger sent that to me, and I was just like, oh, she's fucking ill, and she's a really dope artist, and I think that her voice really works well on that track with Aesop Rock. It's just. But she's dope. Her production is fucking dope. And if you like, there's something more magical about it when the fucking producer is fucking laying out the drums right in front of you as they're singing. She's just amazing. Like, this album has a lot of variety. It's got a lot of really dope sounds. It's got a lot of really dope raps. It
does not feel its length
No.
at all, considering how long this album is.
It's an hour. I would not have guessed that, actually.
Hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, so what are your do you have anything in particular to say about anything else on here?
No, I feel like we've got off enough. Favorites on the album, I'd probably go with Living Curfew, Aggressive Steven, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, Vititus.
Okay.
This is maybe one of my favorite rap tracks of the year so far, actually.
Okay.
Vititus. It's really beautiful, really personal, but at the same time, you know, I don't know anything about Lithuania or the American Lithuanian diaspora.
It's really kind of beautiful.
So to, you know, just have a glimpse into that window was like a really beautiful and personal moment. And I was shocked at how good that track was at the end of a pretty, you know, long and extensive record. I was surprised to get gut punched like that right at the end.
Those last three tracks are really good. Solid Gold, Vititus, and Black Snow. But my personal favorites: Living Curfew, Kai Night Toothpick, Black Snow, and All City Nerve Map. All City Nerve Map, man. That verse is so ill. Cramp into the glamper van, vanish off the candid cam, frying pan to fire like a vandal hand of Montana gold. Graffiti shit.
Yep.
Fan the flame of animals with access to the roof like Michelangelo. About to free a statue from the cube. Hold a can of ruby like a spam musubi. Fucking bar. Yo, I tried not to pick out a bunch of bars on this, but there's always so much. Like the mayor of That Away, taking a piss running full speed. There's so many things on this album that are just so dope, man. I'm a big fan of Aesop Rock. I think this album very well may creep into my personal top 10 of the year. Again, this is a very quick review. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. I know I love a lot of these songs, but overall, I'm not sure where I'm at in terms of, like, I think I like it better than Garbology. I definitely like it better than Spirit World Field Guide. I just couldn't listen to that because of fucking whatever was wrong with his mic. It's a frequency that makes me like I can't listen to it too long. We mostly listen to all of our music on headphones here in Tokyo because we don't have cars and there's not places that are like loud with speakers playing fucking music like that. But yeah, on my headphones, that album just grates on me after about 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say I would recommend this album to fans of fucking Aesop Rock. I don't fucking know. Fans of Tarantino. Fucking yeah. Fans of I don't know, food combos. There's a song where he's just talking about fucking food.
There's quite a lot of food on this.
That song "Time Moves Differently" here is just him talking about a bunch of food. Maybe at a drive-through. Maybe it's about he talked about high noon. Maybe it's a lunch break song, but it's a lot of food. Yeah. I'm here to see a friend jump off a bridge because his friend did. To us, that's what a friend is. What a terrible question. Yeah, he's fucking ill, man. All right, that's it.
Yeah, sound off in the comments. How do you feel about the themes of this album? What do you think of this record? Yeah.
You should cut your hair and do the Mandinka hair like fucking Mr. T.
What?
You could be Mr. T for Halloween.
Be good to your mama.
Yeah. All right, man. Aesop Rock.
There is no other.
Integrated Text Solutions.
Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit.
Shout out to the patrons.
Shouts out to the patrons.
Yeah. Caltrops Press. No Name Book Club.
Rap Plug Podcast.
The Sonic Cloth Podcast. We rock with a lot of people.
Shouts out to all our people, yeah.